Okay, let's get started. Today is June 6th, 2022 for today's weekly town hall meeting. Today's agenda, projects and development updates, marketing updates, collaboration update, and Q&A. Let's get started, Bobinson, with project and development updates, please.
So let's start with our usual agenda. Starts with the process improvements. The first one remains there is a mass rate with no progress, which is the elk usage. The second item is the bit related to the documentation for Bitcoin deposit and withdraw. This documentation is in review. So the content team has completed the documentation and the review is completed, and believe we need this to be reviewed a bit more further because we are suggesting to use certain external libraries and probably we need not libraries web portals. We may need to make it little. We may have to also find alternatives and we will send this documentation for an internal review, and anybody can suggest additional Bitcoin related tools which people can access. That would be helpful. There's one more additional item which I have missed out adding to the slide. That's about auditing our documentation. So we have a lot of the public facing documentation available under the domain peerplays.tech. But unfortunately, this lacks search engine visibility. And what's happening is whenever somebody is searching for documentation for, let's say, installing a Peerplays witness, they've been taken to older documentation. So that is one of the concerns which has been brought up. In addition to that, we also had some 404 or missing pages, which I believe is addressed right now, which is these missing pages were resulted due to rearranging of our document portal. So that seems to be addressed now. One more item that we need to clarify or audit and fix is we have been referring the BitShares, older BitShares documents in many places, and we are seeing that those documents are they're going offline. Some of those URLs are no more valid. So we have to do an audit, and whenever there are unavailable documents, we have to either replace them with working ones, and if not, we have to refer to Internet Archive's documentation. So that is also another initiative we are planning to undertake. Text preview release. So we don't have much happening here. So we're contemplating a new QA release as we have quite a few bug fixes right now. Bug fixes and enhancements right now. So the versions available on the public facing portal as well as the QA version is the same from the last week. There's no changes. Here is our progress. We have quite a few items in the review. This is the result of earned value analysis. Tabular column, a tabular representation of our progress. So as I said, there are a few items in review and number of bugs and everything is pretty small. So the major improvement or enhancement which is happening to Text UI is the integration with Whale Vault. That will be the only upgrades which is expected to happen in the next couple of months. Next UI. So here we have QA of version the James Bond's number 007 is going on. In addition to this, the Whale Vault integration that I mentioned, that will be also an upcoming major feature, which is coming to next UI. And something that is not mentioned in the slide is, so we are also doing an early usability review of our current screens. So we had created extensive screens, that is interaction design was done for Next. And there are obviously minor changes expected from those designs. So we're trying to figure out whether these changes, if any, are impacting the usability as a whole or not. So we're planning to have an initial meeting this week, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have more updates on the usability side of things. Okay, here is our charts, more charts. Whale Vault. So here the integration is going on, and I've just added some additional details. This just shows that the Whale Vault is a pretty secure Chrome extension. So there's a screenshot from the screen. So Chrome's web store. And the recent release, so this I had already mentioned that this was an active development. The last release had happened a few months ago. Active workers on this, and we'll have a preview available in the next few weeks on the Whale Vault. On the text board, we have issues with our installer, which is not working, etc. So now we have a temporary installer available. This is more of a workaround for the short-term QA. And we're also working on a better, simpler installer creation, which uses the standard Pi installer. It's under review on the Windows right now. And previously, the documentation for the temporary installer was also not available, or it was rather unclear or rather confusing. So we have now addressed that. And the main testing is also on. And the major item, which is the blockchain updates. Mainnet release, this is under QA, and we still have one nagging issue with respect to the replay. Not exactly a replay. Once when the replay is on, when we're trying to interrupt the replay, there are some scenarios where it is not exiting cleanly. So we are trying to address this. There's a little bit of a nasty issue as this involved threads and synchronization. So we're working on that. And on the Ethereum Suns, we're making slight small progress on our discovery phase. And in addition to that, other details are mentioned here. I think we also need to upgrade our documentation because that's also another item which we'll have to do before the main release, as there are minor changes to the build process. Here is our charts. Again, more charts. The slide shows our historical progress. So we have few bugs and features in testing. Others features are mostly related to Sun vote. For the features in progress, these are mostly related to Sun Hive voting and Bitcoin related changes. On the Peerplays library, the performance testing is on. We have some early results, which is not very impressive. So we are looking at where exactly the bottlenecks are. Truehand, the newer NFT Marketplace implementation. So the current status is we have a skeleton homepage, which acts more or less like a block explorer for NFTs. That's complete. The CI/CD pipeline is in progress. We are also trying to do a detailed review of these objects 1.3.1x, which is pertaining to the NFTs. Probably it's worthwhile to notice that some of our features, like the non-transferable digital certificates, which are meant for college certificates, etc., it looks like Ethereum is about to get those features. So this is available with us for probably 1.5 years now. These non-transferable digital certificates. Just thought of mentioning that in this NFT context. Here is our progress on the Bookie Pro. So we're trying to deploy a working Bookie Pro to our testnet, one of our internal testnets called Irona. So the objective here is to upgrade couch potato bows, etc. if needed. Also get it working end to end so that we can have a properly working demo on the testnet. So we're not planning to make any changes to Bookie Pro or other softwares if it's not extremely important. So the objective is to just get them working as it is, and we will explore further steps based on the outcome of this exercise. And yeah, once this is completed, what we are anticipating is that we'll have a deployment, public-facing deployment using test tokens and probably something similar to Bitfund tokens, which we had on the mainnet already. So that's all from the development team. Thank you.
Thank you, Robinson. Michael, start us off with marketing updates, please.
Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. The marketing updates for this week are the SWOT projects for the 2022 projects. The information gathered from stage one is now being used to steer the marketing strategy and being used to craft content and the story around the different products, with stage two underway, which when complete will then get incorporated into the same thing. The rewrite of the new witness documentation for clarity and ease of use that Robinson touched on earlier. We're also going to be creating tutorial videos. They're going to have a walkthrough explanation of how to do everything, which will really enhance the usability of the documentation, make it much easier for somebody to be able to set up a new node. The employer branding refocus. We are in the process of creation of the material received from the information from our current employees that we're going to turn into why it's great to work here and what our strengths are and all that stuff. And that's something I'll be working closely with Elka on going forward over the next couple of weeks. And then we've got the Meet the Team Behind Peerplays questionnaire is being prepared and will be sent out this week.
Thank you, Michael. In terms of the performance report for the last week, we have a better users and traffic to the site, mainly coming from the organic traffic and also the witnesses campaign, as well as the job posting campaign. In terms of the main pages that are driving traffic are the job posting pages and also the home page and the landing page as well. In terms of social media performance for the last week, we got a bit down compared to the week before. Mainly of the activities weren't the same level as the week before, but we're trying to refocusing on adding more threads on Twitter and also adding more content in terms of YouTube reaction videos to drive more reach and also engagement. So this is just the main summary report for the performance for the last week. Thank you.
Hello, So these are the collaboration updates for this past week. Didn't have a lot of communications with our collaborators, but the ones that we did have some communications with was with Mars VR Labs, the gamified VR rehabilitation company. It's going fairly well. We were able to discuss some of the future things going on in terms of how it's going to connect with Peerplays. So that was very promising. Again, that's a very long-term collaboration. So that was all good. With community, we did have a meeting with 3Speak, the guys from 3Speak, in relation to looking at a deployment of Peerplays with the current 3Speak nodes so that they'd be able to communicate with one another. That was a fairly productive meeting, and there's anticipation in the release of the new release, which is going to be coming out fairly soon, of our core update. At that time, that's when they'll be looking to have some participation with Peerplays node operators. So that was positive. Those were the only collaboration updates this past week. I expect to have more in the coming week. It was just not very busy. That's it.
Thank you. Questions, comments, thoughts to everybody here? I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, and we will see you next Monday. Thank you very much.